My name is Mike Foster, the Entrepreneur's Mentor, and welcome to my interview series, A Zoom With. Now, I regularly share my thoughts via my video snippets on my YouTube channel, but this series of interviews is to introduce you to trusted experts with a view of them sharing their thoughts and their tips with you. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Tracy Smart of the Smart team. Tracy is the Smart FD and the founder of the Smart team, who gives small and scale-up businesses access to proven commercial finance leadership in a flexible way. Welcome, Tracy.
Hi, Mike, and thanks.
Thanks for joining me. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
So yeah, as you say, I'm the Smart Finance Director and I have founded the Smart team. So I describe myself as a seasoned finance leader, and I've chosen to do that because it's a little bit different to a finance director, and I've got proven commercial experience that I've gained over 35 years. So I like to think it's my commercial experience which sets me apart and just makes me a bit different to a traditional firm of accountants or an outsourced high street practice. And I'm helping small and scale-up businesses access that skill stack in a flexible way by giving them optionality. In terms of the Smart team, I describe the Smart team as a three-legged stool. So the first leg of the stool is the service we provide to our client, which is access to flexible finance leadership. And if they need it, they can be supported by the virtual finance team. The second leg of the stool is really about finding and creating rewarding opportunities for other finance professionals who, like me, want to work in a flexible way. And I really do think that's going to become more and more of our new normal. And then the third leg of the stool is about building the team and sharing our skill set. And, you know, we've got some really talented people there, and we want to create the best solutions for our clients.
Excellent. And you talk about your clients. What type of businesses do you actually work with then?
Yeah, I mean, I want to work with businesses who are building who are open to building a lean business model. And by that, I mean keeping the skills that you need that are very specific to your USP in-house and protecting those skill sets in-house, but working with trusted finance professionals for all those other services, which, you know, you might describe as being more generic. And in terms of size, I'm looking for growing businesses with between 5 and 25 employees. I think they're a good fit in terms of the size of clients I like to work with.
It's fantastic. It's great that you've got that sort of clarity about the type of businesses that need your services, I guess. Yeah. Now, you position yourself as a finance leader. So how is that different, if you like, to a traditional virtual finance director? And what's the added value of for a business owner to work with a finance leader like yourself?
Well, I started to use the term finance leader because I was finding that not many small or scale-up businesses really understood what a commercial finance director does. And I think the term finance director sometimes brings connotations of large corporate CFO role, and, you know, can scare some people off a little bit because they think they're not ready for a chief financial officer. I don't know. I think genuinely many small businesses don't really know what an FD does. And besides thinking of just the compliance elements, they struggle to articulate what they're really looking for.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, I think so many of them are just, I don't know, they could really benefit from those skills that a well-rounded finance leader could bring to the table.
And I guess it's really important, I guess, that the skills of a finance leader complements the skills of the CEO or the MD or other board members. How do you see that?
Well, a CEO or an MD really wants support from somebody that they can trust. And I think a finance leader needs to be a core member of their senior leadership team. As that relationship develops, a finance leader will be at their side, helping them to build plans and grow the business. I can help people implement their strategy by helping them focus on the key deliverables and defining what the key measures of success are. And then we hold a mirror up so that they can see what progress is in real time. Of course, you want financial control, and that comes as a given as far as I'm concerned, because a finance leader must keep a close eye on the detail of the finances and of the projections. And that will help the MD or the CEO have confidence that they can focus on leading the direction of the business. So I think it's, just adding to that, I think it's the commercial experience that adds that extra dimension to the skill set. By understanding the business model really well, I think what we bring is a new perspective and new ideas and approaches for the leadership team to consider.
Brilliant. I know from our discussions, one of the things that you do to help businesses is to help them prepare for investment funding rounds. So tell us a little bit more about that and the sort of things that businesses have to think about in those circumstances.
So a common requirement for any investment round will be some sort of a business plan to support the pitch. And that's likely to include an executive summary, an overview of the market, a summary of the proposition, and where the proposition or your business is going to fit into the market. And often there'll be some sort of a summary describing the experience of the management team. One of the things we bring clearly is going to relate to the finances. So analysis of the historic and planned financial performance, usually with a couple of scenarios to demonstrate risk and the other options that you've considered. So this is one of my personal sweet spots. I love doing this bit. So in addition to supporting you guys getting the documentation set up, I would definitely recommend that you look at your proposal through a number of different lenses. So this will help you prepare for presentations, and it will help you be ready for any questions you might get. And finally, fundraising takes a long time, or it can take a long time. It takes time and effort to prepare, and it takes time and effort to find and court potential investors. So depending on how much you're looking to raise, as your finance leader, I would recommend allowing at least 6 months and probably more like 9 months for a successful raise.
Some great tips there, and certainly from my experience, I think you're right in terms of sometimes it's considered that the funding is going to go very quickly, and therefore I need to have some quick solutions, but it's actually the devil's in the detail in terms of the planning. I was reading your guide to a finance leader, and you mentioned that business needs to have robust financial stewardship. What is that, and how can businesses implement it?
Well, what I mean when I talk about financial stewardship is owning and steering the financial aspects of the business. So you need to make sure as a finance leader that the business has enough funds to implement their strategy. But you also need to make sure that their approval process is in place to make sure that the spend on investments and overheads are in line with what you're expecting. Finance stewardship is a core responsibility of a finance leader, whether they're an FD or a controller, whatever the title is, but it's really important to establish clear and simple processes of financial control. And reconciliations are important as well. And they're going to be the cornerstone upon which your finance leadership can be built. So I definitely recommend getting financial control early on in the growth journey of a business, because it's so important to have solid foundations the business can then grow and thrive on. And it's also important to get the right tools at the right time. You don't want something that's over bureaucratic or anything like that if you're a really small business, but it has to be appropriate to what your requirements are. So yeah, that's what I mean by financial stewardship.
Fantastic, thanks Tracy. And I think it's really important to businesses to understand that all the different elements of finance. I think sometimes it's just considered about crunching the numbers and making sure that those numbers are presented in a way, and quite often a lot of accountants still look backwards, but the importance of using expert services like yourself is to help businesses look forward and blend their strategy. And I know we've talked about your support before being very bespoke, and that you can cover a number of different finance roles within a business and be supportive to them. And we've also spoken about linking the financial director's role, traditional role of financial reporting, actually with the strategy of the business by using dashboards. So from my experience, I agree it's much more than waiting to find out what the financial outcomes are. But what is it that, what's your thoughts around that? What's your thoughts, and perhaps give some examples of that linkage of how dashboards can link the reporting and the strategy?
Well, when you've got your senior leadership team together in a meeting, you've probably got your most expensive resources sat around that table. And by using dashboards, I help my clients to get the most out of that meeting and their leadership's expertise by focusing the discussion on the important issues that are being raised by the dashboard. You want this group of people to be having strategic discussions, so steering discussions, as well as reviewing performance, which are supervising discussions. So clearly the financial outcomes are historical, like you've just said, and they're supervising type of discussions. So a smart dashboard will help you hold a mirror up to yourself and understand how you're progressing against your longer term goals as well. And it'll help you make sure that you're also having those steering conversations. So the kinds of things you want to measure for a steering discussion are something like, what strategic initiatives do we have to deliver by when in order to meet our longer term goals? Or maybe, are we on track to launch a new product to market? Or it could be about fundraising, something like, how many VCs have we approached for our funding? And how many pitches have we made? And on the supervising side, the types of questions could be, how many clients do we have? How many, in which segments? What's our attrition rate? What's the average income per client? And how many new clients we have onboarded in the last period. So it's not just about how much profit you've made, how much gross profit, what your cash balance is. You want to really be having the conversations about the actions and the things that drive those outputs, like you say. So as you know, we're having a webinar on the 19th of July, if anybody's interested to join that. And I'm offering a 25% discount to anybody who attends that event for a bespoke half-day workshop to help them design a leadership dashboard for their specific business. So get in touch if you're interested.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tracy. I'm really looking forward to us doing that webinar together, because it's, yes, some of the case studies and examples you showed me, I think will be really insightful to people.
Yeah.
If people can't make that webinar, then they should grab a coffee with you and see how you can help them with their business. So if people do want to get in touch with you, how do they find out a little bit more about you?
So you can have a look on my website, www.thesmartteam.co.uk, or email me at hello@thesmartteam.co.uk.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Tracy. Thank you again for your time today, for sharing your experience, expertise, and insight, and for sort of sharing all those thoughts with us.
Thank you. No, it's been great. Thanks, Mike.
So please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, and next time I release a video, you'll be one of the first to know. And hopefully you can join me next time for a Zoom with whoever's next.